All right, guys, we soon going to talk about the match that's going to happen in Full Gear. Mercedes Moné versus Kris Statlander. Title versus title. Let's talk more about the Pink Square Circle. Hey guys, we soon gonna talk about Mercedes Moné, new AEW Women's Champion, Mercedes Moné to win the big one. Now we're talking about the upcoming match, Mercedes Moné challenging Kris Statlander for the AEW Women's title, but also Kris Statlander could also get the TBS title. This title is gonna be a winner take all. Whoever wins this match between Mercedes Moné and Kris Statlander will win the both AEW Women's Championship and the TBS Championship. Now, Mercedes Moné still the TBS champion, the longest reigning champion, and Kris Statlander is, of course, the AEW Women's Champion. But this all started when Mercedes Moné finished at WrestleDream. She put out the challenge to Kris Statlander for the championship, AEW Women's Championship. Could we see Mercedes Moné walking out of Full Gear with both the TBS Championship and the AEW Women's Championship? You know, making her holding two AEW branded titles. Now, we know she currently holds 12 championships right now of all wrestling, of all championships that she holds. We have to go over the history between Mercedes Moné and Kris Statlander. Last year, AEW's Full Gear, we had Mercedes Moné defend the TBS Championship against Kris Statlander, in which she did defeat her to retain her championship. So this was a very good match between both of these women. If you guys remember that last year, we did see Mercedes Moné do her thing, and she walked out of there champion, still champ. So that was the first encounter between both of these women. We knew that it was possible that these women was going to face off again at some given point. We knew that was going to happen. And we did get that match. A month later, we got both women going against each other at AEW's World End. We had Kris Statlander versus Mercedes Moné Part 2. So we thought that Kris Statlander may be the one, even though she had another opportunity to finally defeat Mercedes Moné and win the TBS Championship. However, it was just like Full Gear. We saw Mercedes Moné once again defeat Kris Statlander. Another great match between these women, and she walked out TBS champion. So with that being said, Mercedes Moné has 2 victories over Kris Statlander, and the stakes couldn't be any more higher between both of these women now. Now, Mercedes Moné, I will give a reason why she's going to win the AEW Women's Championship at Full Gear. Now, she was just recently in a tag team with Athena. They challenged in this tag team tournament for the soon-to-be AEW Women's Tag Team Championships. Now, on this episode of Dynamite, they lost their qualifying match. They lost to the team of, which was Harley Cameron and also Willow Nightingale. So since they defeated them, because Athena took the pinfall in that match, since now they defeated them, that takes Mercedes Moné and Athena, that team is out of the tournament. So that's going to be no more. So they go on to advance. So we know Mercedes Moné will not be a part of the inaugural AEW Women's Tag Team Championship. And this is the bracket right now as follows. So it's only down to 6 teams. And we're soon going to get, the term is going to soon finish. So I would say since Mercedes Moné is not winning that championship, she's going to win the AEW Women's World Championship against Kris Statlander. That will happen. And we got to be honest, everything she's done in AEW, this is the one title that has eluded Mercedes Moné's career in AEW. The one title that she cannot win, that's holding her back from winning it all. This is the big one. Now, we know already that Mercedes Moné has challenged for the AEW Women's World Championship. This was against then champion Toni Storm at AEW's All In of this year, 2025. That was in Texas. Now, this was a good challenge that Mercedes Moné put out for Toni. You know, Mercedes did everything she could, but Mercedes Moné was unsuccessful in defeating Toni Storm for the AEW Women's Championship, and Toni Storm walked out AEW Women's World Champion. So since that happened, we knew, and also Toni was the first one to break the undefeated streak of Mercedes Moné since she arrived in AEW. I will say now, since that has already happened, Mercedes Moné is going to win that championship. She already had undefeated streak broken, and she already lost once for the AEW Women's World Championship. I do not see her winning a second time this year when it comes to the AEW Women's World Championship match. I know there are a lot of fans that do not like Mercedes Moné. They don't like her booking. They don't like the way she's been holding all these belts in AEW. They think it's diminishing her career, her value. Everything has gone downhill. But the thing about it is she's still one of the best premier talents in the AEW Women's Division. Not much more you could say. You got Toni Storm, you got Kris Statlander, you got Jamie Hayter, you got Mercedes Moné. She's in that bunch whether you like Mercedes Moné or not. But I will say Mercedes Moné, if she does not win the AEW Women's World Championship, it's going to, like I said before in the previous video, is all the belts she have will be all for nothing. You have all these belts in different promotions, New Japan and everywhere else that you have or had a belt for. It's going to be a waste of time. Why hold all 12 belts that you're holding? It could go for a possible 13, and you're not going to win that belt. It's going to be all for nothing. You already lost to Toni Storm at All In. If she loses again for an AEW Women's World Championship match, her holding all those belts really is not going to mean nothing, because you lost that championship match for that belt twice in the same calendar year. So she really needs to win this. I know she does win. It's going to suck for Kris Statlander. You know, Kris Statlander put in the work. She did everything she could. She's been AEW for some years. For her to win the championship, she just won not too long ago at All Out in Toronto back in September. It's going to be a very, very transitional championship run. To lose to Mercedes Moné, it's going to hurt Kris Statlander more than anything. But it's going to help. It's going to help Mercedes Moné because she's holding all those belts right now. It'll help her, but it will not help Kris Statlander. And also, Kris Statlander will also now go 0-3 against Mercedes Moné, since she already lost the two previous matches at AEW's Full Gear last year and AEW's World End last year. So I will say a lot of people think Mercedes Moné is going to lose at Full Gear. I think she's going to win. There's a very good chance she will win this match at Full Gear and have not just be the AEW Women's World Champion. She'll have a record 13 belts. Now, she's called herself Ultimo Moné. She's already got 12 belts. She broke the record of Ultimo Dragon. She may break the record once again and having 13 belts. That's a lot of belts to hold, but I would say since she didn't win the tag team belts, she's going to get another AEW branded championship, and I think it's going to be the AEW Women's World Championship. So I think that will be the case. But we're going to see what's going to happen. Also, since Kris Statlander and Mercedes Moné have great chemistry, they put on great matches, this is going to be a great match, because now it's not just for Kris Statlander's championship, it's also now for Mercedes Moné TBS Championship. Now, don't get me wrong, there could be a possibility that Kris Statlander wins this match, retain her AEW Women's World Championship, and defeat Mercedes Moné, finally get a win over her, but also get the TBS Championship, making her a two-time TBS champion and also making her a double champion. So I would not be surprised if we get a little swerve from Tony Khan and he makes that happen and Kris Statlander ends up defeating Mercedes Moné. But something tells me that Mercedes Moné is not going to lose another AEW Women's World title match. She could be very well in Kris Statlander's run, and she will be the new AEW Women's World Champion. But I will say, if she does win the championship, the AEW Women's World Championship, I don't see her holding the TBS Championship much longer. She could eventually lose that championship, because she did recently just, broke the streak of Jade Cargill holding it for more than 508 days. She held it for well over 500 days now. I do see her holding that streak for up until Full Gear. She'll lose the championship shortly after winning the AEW Women's Championship, and I can see her dropping the TBS Championship soon after winning the AEW Women's Championship. But this is going to be a big thing for Mercedes Moné. She hasn't won a world championship in a major promotion since WWE, since she was the then SmackDown Women's Champion. So this will be a very big win for her. And I will say, she does win, it'll be, I don't know, it'll be like the TBS Championship. She will have a long run when it comes to that championship. That I could very well see happening with Mercedes Moné when she wins that championship at Full Gear. But it's going to be a great match between both of these women. I believe people are saying that Mercedes Moné and Kris Statlander are wrestling soulmates because they always got great chemistry and put on great matches with one another. One scenario I could see go down like this: if Mercedes Moné manages to win the AEW Women's World Championship from Kris Statlander at Full Gear. Since she is a heel, I can see Mercedes Moné cheating and doing every dirty trick in the book with trying to hit Kris Statlander with the belt, or trying to do a roll-up or put a foot on a rope, anything she can. That will give Mercedes Moné a perfect advantage over Kris Statlander to win the AEW Women's World Championship. And that, with her holding both belts, and also it won't make Kris Statlander look so weak because she lost due to Mercedes Moné being dirty and cheating just to win the championship. And also another note take with this win: whoever does win the AEW Women's Championship and the TBS Championship, that'll be the first woman in AEW history to simultaneously hold the AEW Women's World Championship and the AEW TBS Championship. No woman has ever done that before, holding both belts at the same time. That will be another accomplishment, whoever walks out of Full Gear with both belts, because this is a winner-take-all match. And I don't think AEW's ever done a winner-take-all match when it comes to the AEW Women's World Championship and the TBS Championship. So this will make history for Kris Statlander or Mercedes Moné, whoever walks out champion. But do not be surprised if Mercedes Moné does win. She's going to cheat, does everything you could think of, or even cause outside interference to screw over Kris Statlander. Because I don't think she's going to win this clean if she defeats Kris Statlander. She's going to win dirty. She's going to do everything she can to win this championship. Or, on the flip side, if Kris Statlander does manage to defeat Mercedes Moné, she will come out with both belts, making history, and also get her first win over Mercedes Moné, because she's never defeated her before. But you guys let me know, what do you think? Who you got winning the championship match at Full Gear between Mercedes Moné and Kris Statlander? That's all I have for Mercedes Moné, new AEW Women's Champion. You guys check out the content below. And until then, guys, I will see you guys later.